Hello everyone, this is Boogie Panda and welcome to the 5-minute guide to Hercules, the champion of Rome. Hercules is a melee physical carry who has the potential to deal a lot of damage in one short burst. Hercules' passive is called Strength from Pain. As Hercules' health gets lower, he gains physical power based on a percentage of his missing health. The maximum physical power Hercules can gain is 20 plus 2 times your current level, and that is assuming that you have literally no HP left. The passive rewards players for taking risks and staying in the fight while Hercules has low HP. Hercules' first ability is called Driving Strike. This is a line AoE that Hercules does. He leaps into enemies and drives them back. If his HP is below 50%, then it also stuns the enemies. The stun time increases with each level as well as the damage. This ability scales really nicely with Hercules' physical power, as it does plus 90% of physical power as an addition to the base damage it does. The stun comes in really useful when you're being ganked or you play too aggressively. Despite it being short, it's enough to interrupt enemies, as well as finishing them off coupled with your 1 or setting them up for your ultimate. Hercules' number 2 is called Earthbreaker. This skill has 2 aiming reticles similar to Poseidon's ultimate. The smaller tip at the end of the aiming reticle is the area in which the enemy will get flung back towards Hercules if you manage to land that hit. Enemies in both the larger and the smaller rectangles will also take damage. Earthbreaker does less damage than Driving Strike and does not scale as well, adding only plus 50% of physical power instead of the plus 90 of Driving Strike. However, it's a really good tool for initiation or catching enemies when they're running away from you. Hercules' third ability is called Mitigate Wounds. This is a self-heal spell that Hercules has. After the ability is activated, a percentage of the damage Hercules takes in the next 4 seconds is returned over the next 10 seconds. The percentage goes up with each level, all the way up to 130% of the damage taken at level 5. The percentage multiplier is also increased by 1% for every 2% of missing health, meaning that at the very maximum, theoretically, Hercules can return 180% of the damage he took over 4 seconds. In the higher levels, it's great for tanking objectives such as towers, phoenixes, fire giants or gold fury, as most of the damage Hercules took will be recovered over the next 10 seconds. Hercules' ultimate ability is called Excavate. Excavate basically turns Smite into a game of 10-pin bowling. Hercules lifts up a boulder from the ground and throws at an enemy with an aiming reticle initially. It can bounce off walls, edges, player-created obstacles such as Odin's Ring of Spears or Thor's Tectonic Rift. If the enemies were standing where the boulder originally landed, it will also knock them back as well. If the boulder hits enemies multiple times, then each subsequent hit after the first one, the enemy will take 50% less damage. Excavate does a lot of damage from early game all the way to late game, and scales very nicely with his physical power, as he gains plus 100% of physical power. So on to the pros and cons of Hercules. The obvious strength of Hercules, pun intended, is that he has a lot of damage. He can burst down most gods with a combo of Earthbreaker, Driving Strike, and then followed by Excavate. Hercules also has a decent amount of sustain because of his heal, and decent push in the lanes thanks to his 2 line AoEs. However, Hercules has low defenses if you choose an offensive build for him. Hercules is also very mana hungry in the early game, less so later on, but if you intend to play very aggressively with Hercules, you're going to run into mana problems. For skills, I recommend that you prioritize his 1 Driving Strike because of the damage it does. When you can't level 1, you should level his 2 Earthbreaker for additional damage and put points into his ultimate Excavate whenever possible. Mitigate Wounds should be leveled last. In terms of items, I like to pick up Warrior's Tabby first. Those boots are great for any physical carry. I then progress into a Void Blade for the protection as well as the penetration and power. The penetration that you get from Void Blade means that you'll be nearly doing true damage to enemy gods. For the third item, I like to pick up a lifesteal item such as Devour's Gloves or Eye of Retaliation. Soul Eater is also a viable item, but I don't like it for the lack of physical power it provides. Eye of Retaliation also works in conjunction with Hercules' passive, gaining 1 physical power for every 2% of missing health. For the fourth item, I like a Thrustborn Hammer or the Executioner, depending on what I need. If I need a slow, I pick up the Thrustborn Hammer. If I need more penetration and attack speed, then I pick the Executioner. For the final 2 items, I usually buy Deathbringer and Titan's Bane. The order that you buy them may depend very much on the enemy team. If they are building a lot of physical protection, then go ahead and pick up Titan's Bane first. If they're not, then go ahead and pick up the Deathbringer for the added critical damage.